Well, hello everyone. I hope you are all doing well. I am so glad you could join me today. My name is Lindsay Bryline, and I want to thank you all for joining me in this Kernville and the Kern River presentation. For those of you who don't know me, I'd like to tell you a little about myself and why this presentation is important to me. I am currently working toward my master's degree in public relations at Full Sail University. I am currently working with TNR Hauling and Junk Removal as their PR specialist. I have lived in the Kern River Valley for about 18 years. My mother moved my family here when I was 8 years old. Kernville is the heart of this valley and means very much to the local community, myself included. The Kern River runs right through Kernville into Isabella Lake, where it then runs toward Bakersfield, California. In my youth, I spent many afternoons hiking to the lower Kern to swim in one of the many swimming holes. I have fished in the river, gone gold panning, I have been rafting. This area will always be very special to me. For those of you who are unable to stay throughout the presentation, the link on this page is to my website where I will be posting the completed webinar in a blog post. The Kern River Valley is made up of several small towns that surround Isabella Lake. All of these towns rely heavily on seasonal tourism. Kernville and Lake Isabella provide the most economic growth from tourism because of their proximity to the lake and to the river. Most of the surrounding towns do not see much tourism, aside from Bodfish, where the local ghost town is located. Towns such as Weldon and South Lake tend to see some small amount of tourism simply because of their location and needing to be driven through to get to Lake Isabella. Kernville is also known as Whiskey Flat, and it is the major tourism hotspot. There are several unique bars and restaurants, as well as the famous Kern River Brewery. Several events are held throughout the year, such as rubber ducky races at Riverside Park, hot rod shows, fall festivals, trunk and treats, rock and blues fest, and Friday night river rhythms hosted by the Kern Valley Hospital. Kernville is historically popular, making the local museum very attractive, as well as the rodeo grounds, where they hold several events. Once a year, Kernville has Whiskey Flat Days in February, where the town goes back to its Wild West roots of gold miners and cattle ranchers. This is the biggest event of the year, bringing in approximately 20,000 or more visitors just to Kernville. I will add a link to more information regarding Whiskey Flat Days in my reference slide at the end. Riverside Park is one of the most relaxing sights to see, with the park being placed along the river. While lodging is popular at the several bed and breakfast inns in Kernville, most visitors to the area choose to camp. The Kern River is host to many swimmers, gold panners, kayakers, rafters, and fly fishers. Because of the campgrounds along the river, many times trash is left behind and ends up in the waters. I took this picture in the river at Chico Flat, just north of Kernville. This is a very active spot for camping, as it is one of the very first campgrounds as you drive just above Kernville. I am sure that most of you who are here with me, you're here because of your love of the outdoors and your interest in small town gems. I just want you to take a moment and think about areas that you have visited and take note of their cleanliness. We have to remember that we are guests in our forest, and we have to remember that we need to protect the wildlife. So it is up to us to make sure that we do not leave behind trash and that we leave the areas cleaner than when we arrived. There are 17 campgrounds along the upper Kern River. During the late summer season, fire risk in California actually caused the National Forest Service to temporarily close all forest land due to lack of resources if a fire were to start. These campgrounds remained very active until the closure, especially this year with the coronavirus pandemic. Many news sources provided coverage on the amount of trash that was being left behind weekend after weekend. And in the beginning of summer, many popular tourist spots were closed down because of coronavirus. So this closure included most beaches along the California coast, and vacationers needed to find a place to take their families to cool off due to the unprecedented heat waves that Californians had experienced over this summer. This led to the Kern River seeing more visitors over the summer than it would usually see. According to the Kern River Conservancy, this number doubled in comparison to the previous year of 2019. Because of this, trash bins were not enough to contain the amount of trash left behind. Some visitors chose not to use the trash bins at all. The solution to this problem was to fund more trash bins at campsites, but that still wasn't enough. Even if some campsites were seeing up to 5 more bins, it just still was not enough. So local volunteer groups had to work even harder to restore the campsites. It takes all of us to make sure we don't impact the nature around us negatively. When visiting forest lands, we must remember to pack in and pack out and try to leave the area cleaner than when we arrived. We can all do our part to get involved in our communities and help our small towns that rely heavily on tourism. If you have any questions regarding this webinar or how to get involved in your community, feel free to send me a DM or a tweet at BrylinePR. Thank you so much for sticking with me during this presentation. I hope to see you all out there doing your best.